Hey you guys, what's going on? PrinceOnyx right here, your good guy. I am back. So let's go ahead and get into this Rosewood Season 1 Episode 12 review for the episode called Negative Autopsies and New Partners. So let's go ahead and get into this, shall we? So, Hornstock is basically forcing Villa to find herself a partner because, Rosewood is not really an official partner per se. It's like he would have to go through certain paperwork and process to be a consultant because he has his own business. So it's like, what would be the what would make how would that make sense for him to join the police force? You know what I'm saying? So it's like that wouldn't make sense. But he can be a consultant of hers, which is technically somewhat of a partner. But he has to go through online classes and paperwork and training and this and that, blah blah blah. So there's that. But of course, with this search for finding a new partner, it of course backfires and blows up in her face. And I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, like I was saying, so Villa and Rosewood, though, we then see them also to top off this episode. They are having a morning jog over on the beach, and of course they're back and forth, joking with each other, mocking each other, sarcasm, hardy har har. Next, we see that Rosewood meets with a new. He meets not meets with. He meets a new doctor at this. I believe it was at a hospital or at a clinic. I forgot which one. But he comes across this doctor by the name of Erica, who was basically reading this guy his rights because here he is, in the lounge. The guy he's in the lounge on the phone, yelling and screaming and going off on somebody, and she just lets him know that hey, all this noise pollution that you're doing, cut it out because you wouldn't want somebody yelling and screaming at your child the way that you're doing to whoever it is that you're mad at. So take all that yelling on the phone, take that out of here. So anyway, they had talked to each other for a quick second, introduced each other. Then Rosewood had got a call about a case. Well, no, he didn't get a call about a case. They both saw the TV that said that there was a Jane Doe, an unidentified female's body that was found in a lake, and so he knew that was his call to exit stage right and then stage left. So he had left and went to he went to the police station and he met with the ME Max, who is having trouble with the body because the face is so gone, it's destroyed due to the maggots and just the face is unrecognizable. But Rosewood does a swab of the right cheek to get some saliva or whatever to do a facial reconstruction at his lab with TMI and Pippy, so they do that. Anyway, so yeah, at the lab, Pippy is able to ID that the girl was actually homeless because at first they thought that because of the markings on her feet that she was like a track runner when she was alive, but Pippy can tell the signs that this girl was homeless. Now the reason that she can tell that is because when Pippy was 15, she had ran away from home for 3 months. And so it's like, she was out in the streets for 3 months, so she can identify a homeless person. So this case and this episode was really character focused, and I really like that because it showed us a little bit more about Pippy and who she is as a person. So it showed us it was more character focused on her, but of course with the headliner Rosewood and of course the co-star Villa and all the other characters, we of course see them as well, but it's like I like this episode for being more character focused on her. Ooh, excuse me. So anyway, I guess either it was the next day or in a few hours because you really can't really tell with the transitions too many times. But anyway, Rosewood and Villa and Hornstock meet with the parents of the deceased, and they pretty much they meet with the parents of the deceased, and they find out that after they show her the picture that the girl who is deceased is not their daughter. So then it's just like, oh damn, like she could possibly have been a friend of the Jane Doe because they still didn't know Jane Doe's name at this point. So as I said earlier, it's revealed that Pippy, when she was 15, she had ran away from home. Next, we see Pippy and Rosewood. They go to their mother's house to get Pippy's diary from when she had ran away because it has the information about spots on where homeless kids would hang out to hide from the cops and go panhandle and all that stuff. So they go there and they find out that the mom Donna is having a garage sale, and she is she's selling away a lot of stuff, and they pretty much decide to grab their childhood items before she decides to sell those as well. So then they find out that then we are introduced to Detective Martinez, who is Villa's new partner for the time being. And of course, when Rosewood comes to the station to talk to Villa about the case, he meets Martinez, and Martinez just straight up shades him from the gate. He's just like, okay, why don't you have a visitor's badge? You're breaking a violation. I'll go get you a visitor badge. So the minute that he leaves, pretty much, Villa and Rosewood are just like, damn, this guy is like no emotion, no nothing. Like what? Like he is wired a different way than you or I. So it's like this is very, this is crazy. So anyway, Donna then asked Rosewood, this was like later on, she had asked him if he had found the cardiologist yet, and of course he says that he's working on it, and of course again she worries about him because of his heart condition and all that stuff, yada yada yada. So when she finds out about the case, about the whole homeless girl being the one the body that they're examining and how they're looking into the situation, Donna asks if she needs to talk to Pippy, and of course Rosewood says, she will talk when she wants to talk. So in other words, ain't no sense of you trying to have a mother-daughter moment because it's not going to happen. She'll talk when she wants to talk. Anyway, Pippy and Rosewood, they end up going down memory lane when they are in Pippy's room because Pippy is looking through all her stuff. She finds the journal, the diary, whatever, gives it to Rosewood, and then she picks up a tape recorder, and then she clicks it, and it's her and her friend Cassie, who is played by, I believe it's Tamara Mari. No, I think it's Tia who plays her. Damn it, I can never tell. The way that I can tell them apart is that I think it's Tamara that has like the mole on her face or whatever. Anyway, one of the Mari sisters is playing Cassie, who is Pippy's best friend from when she had ran away from home that time. So the two of them were singing, and they can both sing, okay? So the two of them this was a recording from when they were teenagers, and they were singing the song by Destiny's Child called Survivor. And it was really good. It was a little nostalgic moment, a head nod to, the times before now. So anyway, what else happened? Oh yeah, so Rosewood, Villa, and Detective Martinez go to a juvenile detention center where they believe that Jane Doe was before she died, due to the fact that the DNA on her wrist is also on handcuffs. Martinez gets a little slightly impressed with what he sees. Anyway, so the team of Pippy, Martinez, Villa, and Rosewood head to Paramount Park, where is one of the spots where Pippy was, and when they're walking through the park, the three of them, Martinez, Villa, and Rosewood, keep walking, and Pippy stops for a second. She looks at an out of use phone booth, and she has a flashback to when she had used to call Rosewood every day at a certain time, and they would talk or whatever, because this was again around the time she had ran away. So when Rosewood saw that she wasn't walking with them, he had turned around and asked her, where did you just go right now? And she was just like, oh, it's nothing. Like I'm all right. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. So anyway, the team ends up coming across this one teenager by the name of Oscar, who is able to identify the girls through the pictures. One of the girls is named Kara, and the other girl is Alice. He appears to be sick due to the intense sweating and other symptoms that they can see, so they take him to the hospital. Oscar had tested negative for something called Myrcene. Either way it goes, it turns out that him and Carver and Alice were, long story short, they were not addicted. They were exposed to meth. So they were, methamphetamine. They were exposed to it somehow, some way, and they put two and two together, and they feel like whatever had killed Alice, could also be affecting Oscar and Kara. So it's like it's best they got him to the hospital. He tested negative. Child Protective Services came in, and they were pretty much watching Oscar, and that was that. So anyway, meanwhile at the same hospital, Rosewood bumps into Dr. Erica again, and she comes to find out that she is a cardiologist, and she loves to say that she's one of the very best, because Rosewood just let her know that, oh well, I've tried other doctors before and it was a no go, but she was just like, well, good thing that you haven't given up on your search before I moved here, because I'm one of the best. Oh, also a side note, that the lady who was playing Dr. Erica, who was the same actress who played Bianca in the movie Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. I really like seeing her on this show. It's a different dynamic of her, because on Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, she was more of a bitch, whereas on this show she's more delightful. Her character is more delightful and more likable. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. But anyway, yeah. So she gives Rosewood her card and tells him to call her so that they can set up an appointment. And there was that. So in the midst of this, before they can, the three of them, Villa, Martinez, and Rosewood, can head back to the station. Martinez pretty much gets off the phone with Hornstock and he basically quits. He's no longer Villa's partner. So again, like I said earlier, the whole thing about finding her a new partner blew up in her face. So there was that. So next we have TMI, Rosewood, and Pippy. They are re-examining Jane Doe's body to see if they can find a cure for whatever it is that may have killed her. And again, that's when they find out that she had meth in her system. Now they think that she was either an addict or she was a user or whatever the case is. Turns out she was none of those things and she was simply exposed. So meanwhile, you have Rosewood and Villa. They go back to the hospital to talk to Oscar and interrogate him. And he admits that, the two girls, he admits that they would steal stuff from people, but they would steal and give it to the other homeless kids to help them out, to get them food or whatever they needed. And he also tells them the location of where one of the girls, where they used to, hide out at. It was some abandoned house, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it was some abandoned house, and so, there's that. So meanwhile, Donna and Pippy are having a moment, and this my mother-daughter moment turns ugly because... shit. So anyway, this mother-daughter moment turns ugly because Pippy remembers the time when she was 15 and she had came out that, her father and Rosewood, they were on her, they were team Pippy. They were supportive of her. Whereas Donna couldn't grasp the concept of having a gay daughter. So the moment gets a little bit ugly because you have Donna trying to, quote unquote, in the words of Pippy, remix this situation and be like, oh, I never was against you. I always loved you. I always accepted you. And it's like, no, you didn't. You weren't on my team back then, but, years later you are now. So you don't get to remix this, try to fix this. No, you can't do that. So it gets a little bit sour, it goes left. This whole mother-daughter moment goes left, and it's basically sour grapes. So anyway, next we see that Villa is interrogating a drug dealer who sells meth. He says that he knew Alice and Kara, and he says that they are thieves, and if they want to know who killed Alice, that they would have to look into the people who the girls had stole from. So Villa wants to get on top of that and make a list of the people who they stole from to see if they could have had anything to do with the death of Alice. And wait, was it Alice or was it Alicia? Because I keep saying Alice. Because I right here in my yeah, it is Alice. I don't know why I wrote Alicia. Like in one part of my notes, I had wrote Alicia. That's why I was like, huh, interesting. Anyway, so of course Rosewood actually, surprisingly enough, opposes doing this whole list thing because that's kind of gonna, I guess, take up too much time of them it's gonna take away from them trying to find Kira before whatever is inside of her, aside from the meth, whatever is inside of her before it kills her. So it's like, it shocks her because it's like, it shocks Villa that Rosewood said that because Villa was like, okay, because of this case and because, of what happened to Pippy, you're getting emotionally involved because of her, and he's like, no, it's not. It's not about that. But he let Villa know that just because Pippy is helping out with this case and it ties in and brings back memories of when she was homeless for those 3 months and when she ran away, it's like he's not emotionally invested, but it's just hey, it's not what you think it is, So anyway, we see the TMI and Pippy are having a moment at the lab because of what had happened between Donna and Pippy. And Pippy is very strong. She gives a very strong, cold shoulder, silent treatment. Don't want to talk about it. Will not talk about it until she feels like it. That's that. So anyway, Rosewood and Villa, they end up going to the abandoned house, as I mentioned earlier, that Oscar told them about. And that's when she tells him that according to a law, she can hire him as her consultant and check a box on a form that has consultant, partner, whatever, checkmark consultant, and that he would have to take some online classes and some tests. And at first he says no, and she's just like, well, damn, like just all right. So anyway, They find Kira and she is asleep. However, her pulse is starting to fade, and that's when they, and her fever is really high. So they get her to the hospital as soon as possible because Kira is the daughter of the two parents who they talked to earlier, which I brought the parents back up for a certain reason. So anyway, it turns out that Villa ends up interrogating the parents because it turns out that abandoned house that was abandoned is a property that the parents had bought, and they bought it because it was going to be either destroyed or sold to somebody else or whatever. So they had bought it, but they hadn't touched it in like a year or so. But people had, like, some drug dealers broke into there and were using it as a meth lab. And so the reason why Kara and Alice and Oscar were exposed to meth and had meth in their systems was because they were inhaling it, and it got into their clothes, it got onto their clothes, it got into their food and drink, all that stuff. So that's why, what happened. So they end up denying that the parents, of course, deny that they knew anything about the meth lab. But of course, the Villa and Hornstock and Rosewood are just like, well, really more like Villa and Hornstock, because Rosewood gives them the benefit of the doubt a little bit. Anyway, but they do admit to buying that house. So Donna and Pippy end up they talk about what happened earlier in the episode, and Pippy apologizes, and they hug and rekindle. They have a positive mother and daughter moment. So then Rosewood pops up and he comes through with an announcement that he found the cardiologist. Of course, the mother and daughter are happy for him. And the mother and sister are happy for him, and they were just like, oh, like, is she your type? And he was just like, oh, I ain't gonna really get into that. And they was like, oh, you see the signs, you see how he's smiling, you see how he's reacting, she's his type. So they think that that's gonna be a new love interest for Rosewood, seeing as though Kat is no longer in the picture. So there's that. Anyway, we then see so Rosewood, he has an appointment with Dr. Erica the next day. He goes in for the appointment, and he then figures out how Alice ended up dying, as Dr. Erica was, when she came in and she was telling him the procedure of how the appointment was going to go, and she mentioned something about electromagnetic surges, that the electromagnetic surges or something, electromagnetic pulses or whatever. He then realizes that's how Alice died. It has something to do with electrocution. So he gets up and leaves early, and he goes to tell Villa. So as he does that, he lets her know that she died at the house due to electric cords. So they're thinking that somebody had electrocuted her. So Hornstock then meets with this private investigator who the parents of Kara had hired, and it turns out that this guy, he found the girls at the abandoned house. He knew that they were there, but he knew that they were there, but because he was so greedy and wanted to keep taking Kara's parents' money, he kept doing that, and he never let them know that he found the girls. So one night he saw Alice when he was at the house, because I guess he was going to go back and eventually get the girls. He saw Alice, she was like wobbling around and just, out of it or whatever, and she grabbed onto this loose wire that was these loose cords, grabbed onto them, and ended up shocking herself. So she had killed herself. However, and then he the one who picked up her body and took it to the lake or whatever. So he's the one who, you basically witnessed her killing herself and you didn't say anything about it. And so he got arrested because it's like, if you would have told us about it, if you would have came to the cops about it, this whole situation, this whole case would have never even happened. This whole manhunt, whatever, would have never happened. So he ended up getting arrested anyway. I think it was for involuntary manslaughter. I'm not sure, because again, he didn't kill her, but he did dump her body in the lake to cover up the murder. So he got arrested. So there was that. What else? So later we see Pippy and Rosewood. They're talking at the lab. She's feeling better after what happened, and there's that. Pippy gets a surprise text from Hornstock to come and meet her for lunch, and so they go out to this restaurant, and they sit down and they're talking or whatever, and then Hornstock mentions Cassie. He mentions Cassie, and then she's, Pippy's just like, wait, how do you know her? And he was like, girl, trust me, you don't want to know how I know her, and you don't want to know how I found her. And next thing you know, who's behind Pippy? It's Cassie. And, they see each other, and it's just like that, oh my God, holy shit type of moment, and they hug each other, and it's like a reunion, they're reunited, and that was a really good moment. I liked that. That was towards the end of the episode, and then the next scene after that, we have Rosewood and Villa going on another jog. I think like later that day, and that was pretty much it. So I think that I think either it's Tia or Tamara. I forgot which one of the Mary sisters it is. Anyway, I think that her character Cassie will be a recurring character, so I'm really excited about that because we get to see more of her. So yeah, so and it turns out that because remember her and Pippy were homeless or whatever, you know, when they were they were teenagers. Cassie owns the restaurant that they were at, so she became this established business person, you know, businesswoman. She owns her own restaurant. And yeah, so it was really surprising, you know, that they met, because it was really surprising that they saw each other and they recognized each other after all these years. So yeah, because at one point in the episode, Donna did ask, you know, whatever happened to Cassie, and Pippy said she doesn't know because, you know, after the 3 months, you know, Pippy came back home, and Cassie, she didn't have a home to go to. So, but she looked out for Pippy when they were in the streets together. She always looked out for her, and she always told her, girl, go ahead and take your ass home. But of course, you know, she never listened, but eventually she listened, and that was that. So, that is all that I have for this review. Again, I will try to work on the other ones tonight and tomorrow and Tuesday. Hopefully get those to you guys. That's that. Let's see. I think the family comes on at 7. So what I'm going to do for the family is I'm going to give you guys a crash course review where I just review, it's like a mashup of all the episodes. And then after that, I will try, don't hold me to this, but I will try to start giving y'all episode by episode reviews. But I'm going to probably try to give you guys a quick little crash course review because it's, after a while writing these notes, my hand gets tired. I end up taking a little nap and ends up lasting for hours, and I wake up late. And I ain't got time for that. So that's that, but just to keep you guys updated. And yeah, so I will see you guys soon. Peace, PrinceOnyx, signing off.